Welcome to our YouTube video series on employment law. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular video we will be examining the Bardal Factors, which serve as the legal considerations for purposes of determining the appropriate notice period and hence severance pay for fired and terminated employees in Canada. Now, the Bardal Factors are a series of legal considerations that have become well-established court precedent for purposes of determining the appropriate notice period and hence severance pay for fired and terminated Canadian employees. It is named after the 1960 Ontario High Court case that set out these legal factors, being Bardal versus the Globe Mail Ltd, which has consistently been applied by the Supreme Court of Canada in Machtinger versus HOJ Industries Ltd, Wallace versus United Grain Growers Ltd, Honda Canada Inc. versus Keays, as well as other court decisions, presently being in excess of 1,500 court decisions. Chief Justice McRuer set out what have now become known as the Bardal Factors in his decision in Bardal versus Globe Mail Ltd. as follows, quote, "There can be no catalogue laid down as to what is a reasonable notice in particular classes of cases. The reasonableness of the notice must be decided with reference to each particular case, having regard to the character of the employment, the length of service of the servant, the age of the servant, and the availability of similar employment, having regard to the experience, training, and qualifications of the servant." End quote. We should also heed the words of the Supreme Court of Canada in the application of the Bardal Factors, where the Supreme Court of Canada stated in Honda that, quote, "No one Bardal factor should be given disproportionate weight," end quote. And in Wallace that, quote, "The Bardal factors have not been viewed as exhaustive. Courts have introduced additional factors into the assessment process, often without articulating the policy reasons for doing so. This has led to confusion about the kinds of factors that may be considered in the future. As a result, this area of law is often uncertain and unpredictable." End quote. It is also worthwhile to remember, before expounding upon the Bardal Factors, that we first look to the Supreme Court's further guidance in Honda, where the Supreme Court referenced a general rule dating from the 1909 English House of Lords decision in Addis versus Gramophone Company that, quote, "Damages allocated in such actions are confined to the loss suffered as a result of the employer's failure to give proper notice, and that no damages are available to the employee for the actual loss of his or her job and or pain and distress that may have been suffered as a consequence of being terminated." End quote. Justice Neufeld's 2017 Alberta Court of Queen's Bench decision in Freeman versus Petro Frontier Corporation restated the more expansive detailing of the Bardal Factors from Justice Grazer in Nelson versus Champion Feed Services Inc. 1. The nature of the employment. The more senior the position, the longer it is likely to take to find the replacement position. There are fewer senior management jobs around. 2. The length of service. The longer an employee has worked for one employer, the more difficult it may be to find an alternate job, either because the employee has narrowed his or her skills by working for one employer for a long time, or the employee has been paid more than the job is worth because of long service. 3. The age of the employee. The older the employee is, the less likely he or she is to find a suitable position, or the longer it is likely to take. Older employees are sometimes perceived as less worthwhile to invest in. 4. The availability of suitable similar employment having regard to the employee's experience, training, and qualifications, together with surrounding economic circumstances. What is the realistic prospect of this employee getting a similar replacement job? What is the job market like? In good economic times, jobs may be plentiful, and the employee may have little difficulty finding a good replacement job. In poor times, there may be few jobs around. Justice Neufeld went on to provide some important points of consideration in the application of the Bardal Factors, contending that, quote, while the factors to be considered in determining reasonable notice are reasonably straightforward, the case law displays a significant degree of variability in the results reached. Some of that variability is a function of the factual differences in cases before the courts. However, it is also reasonable to expect that the application of those facts is also influenced by different perceptions of the fairness or unfairness of the positions advanced at trial, end quote. Hopefully this has brought together some important understanding and insights into the Bardal factors and how they play an absolutely critical role to the determination of employees' notice period and severance pay when they have been fired or terminated from their job. Thank you.